Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Saturday to you all. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sarah, and I'm a designer with Beadalon. And I'm teaching one of my very favorite things today, so I'm really excited about this project, and I hope you guys are too. So we're going to be creating a knotted pearl necklace, and this has what I like to call the turnaround method in it. And I don't know that that's necessarily a technical term. However, it is a technique all in itself, and definitely one that you need to know if you like to do knotting, whether it is pearl knotting or knotting between your gemstones or whatever the case may be. You may run into a design like this and want to create it and not really know how to do it. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to kind of demystify this one because I get a lot of questions about this. So I'm going to show that to you, but I'm also going to break down pearl knotting for you. This is definitely what I would consider a beginner level pearl knotting class, because I will show you this step by step. So you're going to get a lot of information here. I hope you enjoy the design, but even if you don't, I hope that you enjoy learning the techniques and use those in your own jewelry design. So I'm going to go ahead and turn you around. We're going to talk about what I have set out and what we're going to be using for our project. All right, so first and foremost is the pearls, and Michael's is a fabulous place to buy pearls just because they are so cost effective and because they usually have a lot of colors to choose from. And in the original design, I actually used these kind of cream colored pearls, but for today's project, I wanted to switch it up just a little bit, and I'm going to use these. They're kind of navy blue. I don't know that that's what they're called. It doesn't really say. They're just potato pearls, but they come in a lot of different colors. And I thought it would be fun to use a color instead of the cream color, but you can use whichever ones you want to. Like I said, at Michael's, you've got a lot of choices when it comes to pearls, shapes and sizes and colors. So I'm going to be using the blue, and I'm going to be using the card that has the 2 strands on it. One of the strands I've already taken off. Now, in the original instructions, there's an actual pearl count, like how many to use. That's really kind of just a general guide, because not every single one of the cards is going to have the same amount of pearls on them. So you just use what you've got. The most important thing is that each side be even, and we'll talk about that a little bit more after we get started. So the other thing you're going to need is some silk cord, and I like to grab from Michael's the silk cord, the multi-pack that has the different sizes on it. I'm going to be using some of the number 6, and you can use whichever size you want to, but you need to be sure that you're using a size that corresponds with your bead. So a lot of times with pearls and with gemstones, the drill hole on them is very small, but then with your glass beads and other beads like that, you'll have like a pretty average sized hole. You're going to need to find the right size silk. So it's handy to buy a pack of the multi ones, just so you have a couple of different sizes to choose from. What you're looking for is you want the silk to fit the pearl, but more than anything, you want the knot that the silk creates to not slip through the hole of the pearl. So you may have to, play with it a little bit and figure out if you need a 4 or a 6, or maybe you're using something with a tiny hole, you might need the 2, but I'm going to be using the 6. I find that it goes really well with the pearls, the potato pearls. Okay. We're also not going to be doing any pearl reaming today. I'm using the pearls straight off of the card, so don't feel like you need to do any extra work in advance. And let's see, the other thing is I'm just using a really pretty filigree bead. This is going to be for our focal. We're going to create a tassel to hang from this, but you can use whatever you want to. I just thought these were really pretty, so I grabbed these. You're going to need your findings variety pack, because you're going to need a few jump rings. You're going to need a clasp, and the findings variety packs are perfect because they've got a little bit of everything in them. They're all enclosed. You can just toss them in your bag or to the side of your work area. You're going to need some clam shells. Now, these are actually called bead tips, but I most often refer to them as clam shells because that's what they look like. And they have a little hook on them that you can create a loop with, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to use these just right off the bat. We're going to use one of these when we get started. Some sort of ring. Now, I originally had the Wild Spirit rings. These are actually just beads. Let's see, do I have the card that they came off of? Let's see. metal beads, bead landing. They actually have a hole that goes through them, but I'm not going to be using that hole. I'm really just kind of using these as a connector. Okay, so you need at least 2 of those. You're going to need a little bit of wire. I've got some 22 gauge German style wire, but feel free to use whatever kind of wire you've got on hand. Some faux suede lace. I've got this already cut. We'll talk about this when we get to this point as well. That's what we're going to make our tassel out of. And then last but not least, other than your tools, is you're going to need some Hypo cement. This is really good for your knots. It has a precision pinpoint tip on it, and that's going to help you to get right on the knot with the glue. Okay. Now, as far as tools are concerned, just your regular tools, you're going to have your pliers, your round nose pliers, and a cutter tool, some scissors, and your knotter tool. Now, mine looks a little bit different than the one that you might have. My handle is a little bit darker, but it's basically the exact same tool. I'm going to show you step by step how to use this. This is, in my opinion, the most time efficient way to knot pearls. I know that there is something to be said for hand knotting pearls, and it's absolutely beautiful. But if you're not very good at hand knotting, this is the way to go. This tool is going to do all the work for you, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay. All right. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to take our silk cord off of the card. You want to take the whole thing off. If you want to pre-stretch this, you can. I don't really find that it is very necessary. For one thing, the pearls that I'm using are not very heavy, but if you're going to be using heavier beads, you may want to pre-stretch this. There are a couple of things you can do to pre-stretch your silk other than just hand stretching it. You can actually take it off of the card, soak it in some warm water for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then pull it. You want to wring all the water out of it, and as you're pulling it, it's going to, of course, pull the silk, and it's also going to help to kind of pull out those little kinks that it gets in it when it is on the card. Again, I don't find this to be super necessary, but it's up to you. Okay. So I've taken it off of the card. I've got 2 ends. I have one end that doesn't have anything on it and one end that has a needle. I want to be sure that I don't cut the needle off. Don't cut your silk cord. You always want to just leave the, leave it the length that it is, because if you've got leftovers, you still have the needle on the end. So I don't ever pre-cut my silk. I just use it exactly the length that it is. Okay. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to come to the end of the silk. We want to come about, 3 or 4 inches, maybe 5 inches. It's up to you. And we're going to tie a knot in the silk, and we're actually going to tie a surgeon's knot. So I'm going to loop it around my fingers, and basically all that is just an overhanded knot, but we're going to loop it twice instead of just a single loop over. Okay. And then I'm going to pull that down. You really just kind of use your fingers to kind of roll that knot together. Okay, so there's our knot. And I'm going to take one of these little clamshells and I'm going to thread that on. I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to go through the middle of that, right through that little loop. And I'm going to pull that down all the way down to that knot. So that knot is going to be sitting inside our little clamshell. Okay, now I want to take my Hypo cement, and I just want to add, it's really messy. I'm sure yours is too, so I don't feel too bad. But you just want to take it, and you want to you don't even have to squeeze it, just let your fingers kind of warm it up. You can see how a little bead of glue is starting to form, and you just want to put that little bead of glue onto that knot, maybe a little bit to the inside of the clamshell if you want. It really doesn't take a whole lot. Just a little dab of glue on there. And then we're going to use our fingers to start with, and then we'll use our pliers. We're going to close that clamshell over that knot. So I'm just going to start to squeeze. Okay, now I didn't get it completely closed. For one thing, I need to trim off the excess first, and then I'm going to pinch it closed with my pliers. Okay, so you're going to use your scissors or a cutter tool or whatever you've got to trim off that little bit of the silk that's sticking out. Okay, then you just want to come in with your pliers and squeeze it the rest of the way closed. Okay, now I'm going to use my round nose pliers. And I'm going to close up this little hook here and make an actual loop out of it. So I like to just grab the very, very tip of it, and then I kind of roll it inwards. And I almost double mine over just because I like to have that middle kind of overlap itself. I feel like it gives it a more sturdy loop. It could just be my imagination, but I feel like it's more secure that way. So now we've got a loop on one end. Now we can attach this to whatever we want to. Later on, we're going to attach this to a jump ring. But for now, we're just going to leave it just like it is. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to thread on some of our pearls. Now, I want to thread on an even number of pearls for each side. That doesn't necessarily mean an even number. It just means that both sides need to have the same amount of pearls on them. We're only working on one side at a time. So whatever you pick for this side, you also want to pick for the other side. So I'm going to thread on, I'm going to go for 20 pearls. And I'm going to thread every single one of those on right now. Even though I'm not doing any knotting, I'm going to thread all of those on. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, that one's a little snug. Okay, 18, 19, and 20. So just remember that number because we want to put 20 on the other side too when we get to that point. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to slide all of these pearls down. And I don't want to slide them all the way down to my knot, but I don't want there to be a ton of distance. So I'm leaving several inches between the end of our silk and the first pearl. And that's this one right here, not this one here, right? Sometimes that's confusing. That's the only reason I point that out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of rotate this around the length of my silk over here on the left. Oh, actually, it doesn't matter that much. Left, right, makes no difference. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through creating your knots with the hand knotter. Okay, so I'm going to take the first pearl and I'm going to slide it down. I'm going to slide it right up against. Now you can do a knot in between here if you want to. It really doesn't matter. This can be your first knot, or you can knot and then slide a pearl down. I'm just going to slide my pearl right up against this. Okay, so now I'm ready to create my very first knot. I'm going to take the cord. Okay, now you have to follow these steps. I promise you, if you will follow these steps, you will be successful with this. But if you try to alter this and do this your own way, you're going to have more struggle than what it's worth. Okay, and you're going to get frustrated. So if you'll follow these steps, I promise everybody can do this. So my non-dominant hand is here. My dominant hand is holding the pearl. Okay, on my non-dominant hand, I'm going to take the silk cord. Okay, it's running between my index finger and my thumb. Okay, coming up, I'm going to wrap around my 2 fingers. Okay, notice the pearl is still out here towards my body. I'm going to take that pearl and I'm going to drop it down through that loop. So the V of my fingers, that's the direction you want to drop that pearl. Okay, now that V is really important. That V is going to help you with all of the direction here. Look at the top of your tool. The tool has that kind of same V shape as well. That V shape and the V in your fingers should match each other. Okay, we're going to take the pin on this tool and we want to hook that silk, right? So we're moving back, hooking and going, in the open part of the, put your finger here. Okay, you can go ahead and pull out the slack to pull that knot right up against the pearl. Now we're going to kind of turn the tool over in our hand. We're going to place that silk into the yoke, which is that V right there. Okay. And we're going to hold, kind of pulling the silk. I'm not pulling super tight. I'm going to take my thumb and then push up, and that's going to deliver the knot right next to the pearl. Okay. Those steps, you have to do that every single time, and you got to do it that way. If you don't, you're going to get, your knots are going to get all messed up. They're not going to be close to your pearls. I promise this technique works. Okay. But you got to follow the steps. So many people see it and then they think they've got it, and then they do it themselves and realize that they're not, the directions are, you know, they're holding the tool the wrong direction, or they're placing, you know, the loops the wrong direction. So I'm going to show it to you every single time. Okay. Non-dominant hand. The thread is coming up from like the inside of my hand. Okay. I'm wrapping around my two fingers like a lasso. I'm going to take those two pearls. I'm going to drop it down into that, whoops, drop it down into that loop I just made. Okay. The V shape in my fingers, the V shape on the tool, go in the same direction. Hook the silk, put your finger on it, and that's just to hold it so that it doesn't come off. Pull out the slack, right? So that that knot is right up against the pearl. Turn the tool over, put it in that V, the yoke, push up to deliver the knot. You're going to get a perfect knot every single time. Okay. And fortunately for you, you get to see this over and over again, 20 more times, well, 18 more times. Okay. I'm going to pull down a pearl right up against the last knot that I made. Okay. The steps are still the same. Loop around your fingers, take those pearls, drop them down that hole, right? Pick up your tool, V shape matches the V shape in your fingers, back, hook, and we're kind of hooking forward, right? Finger on it, pull out the slack, place it into the yoke, and push up, and you got your knot. Now, is everybody following that, right? I hope you are. You're going to see it again. We've got a bunch of pearls to knot, but I hope that I'm explaining that in the best way. Okay. Because I want you to get this right, because once you get the hang of this, it goes quickly. I'm going slow just for the sake of the class, but it does go quickly. Once you figure it out, you kind of get into a rhythm, and honestly, it's kind of therapeutic. I'm not going to lie. You kind of get into that Zen place when you're knotting. And once you get the hang of it, then all of a sudden you want to knot between everything. And that's the goal. I want you to be excited about this because I want you to feel confident in your ability to do it. Okay. So cord coming through, wrapping around my two fingers, taking all those pearls, and this is going to get longer and longer as we go. So it's going to be more to drop down through that little loop that you're making, but it's all right. Okay. The V on the fingers matches the V on the tool. Hook, finger, pull up to pull all of that slack out. Bring it into the yoke of the tool, push up, and you've delivered your knot. Those knots are going the same direction every single time. They're perfect little knots. And I don't have to manhandle this. Like, and I don't think I'm being politically incorrect by saying that. What I mean is you don't have to use a whole lot of force with this. Okay. You shouldn't be tugging on that silk too much. It really doesn't take a lot of force to do any of this. Okay. So even when I'm pulling the slack out, I'm not pulling super hard. And then when I pull to put it into the yoke of the tool, I'm not pulling super hard. I'm keeping good tension on it, but I'm not pulling extra hard because I don't want to wear out that silk. Okay, I'm going to slide another pearl down. Take it, wrap it around your two fingers, make the loop, drop those down, hook with the tool, finger on. Wanda says, no Hulk strength needed. That's so true. Push up to deliver your knot. Okay. Wrap around. hook, deliver the knot. Look around your fingers, drop through, line up your tool and the V in your fingers, pull out the slack, and deliver the knot.
Sarah, Annalise asked, what if you miss and need to fix it?
So really the only way to fix it, if you've missed a knot, or if for some reason that knot didn't get delivered right up next to the bead because your fingers were not placed correctly. I mean, there are a lot of variables here. The only way, honestly, other than just cutting it apart and starting over, I use a beading awl, or you can use like a needle. You just got to get in there very patiently and very slowly and undo whatever that knot is, and just kind of reset. I wish that there were some other magical cure, but there really isn't. So that's your only option, is you just want to use your beading awl. Now the trick is that when you look at the silk, you can see that the silk is actually two strands that have been twisted together. So when you go in with a needle or your beading awl to try to take the knot apart, you really want to go super slow. Because if you pierce through the two silk strands, you're going to end up with a bigger mess than what you started with. So in the beginning, I almost just say cut it off and start over again from the very beginning. It's only a few pearls. But if you've already worked through, let's say, 50 pearls, you really want to try hard to get in there with something and take that knot apart. Okay, so I did see a comment that went by that said that the pearls are not being delivered directly next to the knot. And the reason that's probably happening is because somewhere along the line, you're mixing up your direction. Okay, I promise if you do everything the direction that I'm showing you, it will get delivered directly next to the pearl. There's no other way for it to go. Also, if you find that you're struggling and the pearl or the silk is not sliding well up against the tool, you've also kind of taken a wrong turn somewhere. So just pay attention to every single step, okay? The cord, just notice the placement of everything. The cord is coming out from underneath my hand, okay, towards my body. And I'm taking that cord and I'm wrapping the loop away from my body around my two fingers. Okay. Take the pearls, drop them from the top down through that loop. Right. The tool, the V of the tool and the V of the fingers should match. Hook away from that V, right? Finger on the top to hold it. Pull out all of the slack, put it into the yoke, give it some tension, and depress the tool, and your knot will be delivered right where it needs to go. You got to follow those steps. I can't tell you enough. If you're missing one of those, or you're going the wrong direction with your loop or anything like that, that's what's going to cause problems. That's what's going to keep your knots from being right up next to the bead. Okay. So again, pull the next pearl down. Okay. Wrap away from your body to create your loop. Drop from the top down with all those pearls. Hook, finger on the tip of the needle. Pull out all of the slack. Place it into the yoke. Yeah, Wanda says there's no improvising with pearl knotting, and that is 100% true. You absolutely cannot improvise. If you make any changes whatsoever, you're going to mess it up. This is the one time in jewelry making where the rules absolutely apply. You have to follow them. A lot of times I throw the rules out the windows. This is one of those times that you can't. You absolutely have to follow this exactly step by step, or you're going to end up frustrated. Okay, next pearl. Away from your body, drop the pearls down from the top. Hook, pull out the slack, put it into the yoke, and push to deliver your knot. All right, I'm going to speed up a little bit so that we can get through this side because we've got a whole nother set of 20 to do. And the good thing is that with these Michael's classes, you can always go back in about 24 to 48 hours and re-watch them. So if you need to see this again, you can watch it on replay as many times as you want to. And you can fast forward up to where you need to be, which is also handy. All right, we've got 4 more to go, and then I'm going to show you the turnaround method, which only applies in a design like this. Okay, one more. Around my fingers, drop all of those through. Hook into the yoke and deliver the knot. Okay, so we did 20, right? And at this point, if you've made it to this point, there's nothing quite like the feel of knotting, beads knotted, particularly on silk. It feels so fluid. It really just has this like very luxurious feel to it. It's one of the most traditional, methods of jewelry making for sure. And there's a reason why it is still used today. There's nothing that feels like it. And one of the reasons why we put the knots in between pearls instead of stringing them together or our gemstones is because that knot kind of serves as a buffer between the beads so that they don't scratch each other up, right? It protects each and every pearl so that each and every pearl you can see absolutely all the way around it. It's not butted up next to another pearl. There's no abrasion happening there. So each pearl gets its own little, its own little stage, but it also protects them and keeps them from hurting each other. Plus, if it breaks, you may only lose one pearl as opposed to the entire strand. Okay, so now we're going to do the turnaround, and the turnaround involves our focal, but only part of the focal. So I'm gonna cut one of these beads off here. Okay, so this focal bead is going to hang in the center. So let me just kind of show you what we're looking at. So this is one side of our necklace coming down in a V. We're going to come down to this. This will have a tassel hanging from it, and then we want to turn around. That's where the turnaround method comes in. We want to go back up and knot pearls up this direction to finish off the strand. Okay, so what we've got to do is we want to take our needle and we want to thread that through whatever this beautiful bead is that you're going to use. And it doesn't have to be a filigree bead. You can use whatever you want here. Okay, so take your needle through there. You're going to pull that down. Okay, now I'm not going to pull it all the way up just yet. I'm going to take my needle and I'm also going to thread on a jump ring. Now, one thing you want to be for sure is that your jump ring has a really good closure on it. Be sure that it doesn't have any little tiny openings at all, that it is nice and closed. Okay, I'm going to thread my needle through that jump ring. Oops, I'm going to create a knot here. Okay, now I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to go back up through that bead. And our jump ring is going to kind of act as our stopper, right? So now when I pull out all of the slack, pull it right up next to the last knot that we created, right? We've got our center. This is going to mark the center. The jump ring is holding this bead in place. This is where we're going to hang our tassel when we get to that point. And now we're ready to start knotting again. So we're going to thread on another 20 pearls, and we're going to do the exact same technique. And we're going to go back up this side of the necklace. Okay. So I'm going to cut these off of the strand here, off the card. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's another 5 to make 10. Okay, we'll pull off another 5 for 15. Okay, and 5 more for our 20. Okay, so once we get these on, we're going to pull those down. And again, we don't want to pull those down right up next to where we stopped. We want to leave ourselves some room. Okay, pull down, leave yourself several inches between our focal bead and your first pearl. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing, right? The turnaround method was exactly what you just saw. We're done with that now. Now we're ready to get back into the groove of knotting. But here's the thing. You have to, you're going to have to kind of deal with this bead here. And that's why we don't put the tassel on until the very end, because I don't want to have to loop a tassel through my fingers every single time I'm making a knot. But you do still kind of have to accommodate for this great big bead that's here. Okay, so that still has to be part of what gets dropped down through the loop that you make. Okay, so let me show you. Okay. So actually the first thing that we need to do is make a knot, because there is a knot, see, right as the silk goes down. So we're going to knot up against this. So I'm going to, same technique, wrap it around my fingers. Okay. And I'm going to drop all those pearls, including that focal bead, down through that loop. And then I'm going to knot up against it. And it's a little tricky because it's a different shape, but it's still works. And now we've got 2 knots there, just so that it's even in appearance. There's really no other reason for that other than just so that it matches on both sides. Now you're ready to do the pearls. So we're going to bring the next pearl down. Okay. Wrap around your fingers. Drop everything down through. It has to go down through from the top to the bottom, just like that. Okay. Hook, hold on, pull out the slack, place it into the yoke, and then deliver the knot. So we're just going to proceed just like normal. Okay. Round your 2 fingers down through. All that's got to drop down through there. Hook. Pull out all the slack, put it into the yoke, and deliver the knot. Okay, next one. Wrap around. Remember, we're wrapping away from our body, all the way around, and then we're dropping all of those beads down from the small part of the V down to the open part of the V, right? If that helps visually. Hook. Pull out the slack, place it into the yoke, and deliver the knot. Okay. Wrapping around, Dropping all of that down. Hooking. Up. And delivering the knot. And you can see every single one of those is consistent. There's no room in between there, right? There's no wiggle room between the knots and the pearls. They're all nice and snug. And that's what you're going for. You don't want those pearls to be wiggling around on that silk. All right, now we've got plenty more to do. So I'm going to speed up just so that we can get to the next step of this project. Okay, so around the fingers, down we go. Have to go a little slower because we're working with a long section. It's just going to keep getting longer. Drop everything down. Hook. Pull out the slack. Now, I know that it seems like I'm being kind of a stickler when it comes to the directions, but again, you have to follow the steps exactly. And part of the reason that it is so important that you follow these steps has to do with the way that this silk cord is made. So let's go back and talk about that for a second, because remember I told you the silk cord is actually two silk cords that have been twisted together, right? Well, the reason that this works, if you follow the steps, those twists will guide right along the needle, right? Everything going in the correct direction will slide right along. See how easy that is? I'm not having to pull, the silk doesn't get caught up or anything. But if you're struggling, it's because you've missed one of the steps and you're going the wrong direction. Because if you are pulling the silk against the twist that already exists, that's what's going to cause major problems, right? That's where you're going to find that you're going to have some tension every time you try to pull out the tension, or you have to pull it, up against. See how smoothly that knot, I pull out all the tension. If you're struggling with that, you're pulling against the twist that exists. That's why these steps are so important, because if you line it up and follow the direction, we're actually following the direction every single time we make a step. We're following that natural twist that exists in that silk cord. So we're not working against the twist, if that makes sense. If you're working against the twist, you're really going to struggle. I don't know if you can tell or not, by the way I explain how to do this, that I really love it. I hope that comes across because it is one of my very favorite techniques in jewelry making. I feel like I don't get to do it enough, and I love to teach it to people. It's difficult to teach it in a class setting like this because I don't get to see any of the aha moments that happen when students get it. But it's so gratifying to teach this to somebody and see them actually get it, because there's a lot of struggle that does happen in the very beginning. And if you don't follow the steps, or you just make one misstep, it really can be a frustrating process. And then you decide, oh, I don't like it because I can't do it. So then you never do it again. But if you get it, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there are so many possibilities. So I really enjoy teaching pearl knotting, and I really enjoy it when students get it, So that being said, if you recreate this project, or you just do, oh, I missed one. Did you see it? I lost it on the tool. Let me show you what I'm going to do. See how it's not tight because I let it slip off of the needle. I'm just going to cinch that down with my fingers just really quickly. And I saved it, right? So stuff like that happens. That's why it's important to keep your finger on there. But if you recreate this design or you do any of the techniques here and you post it, make sure you post it and tag it, make it with Michael's or hashtag Beadalon so that we can all see. Okay, I've got 2 more pearls to go. All right, last one. I'll go slow with this one. Okay, so pulling the very last pearl down, wrapping around 2 fingers away from your body. Okay. And you can see the placement of the cord. The loop is over the top. The bottom is my working strand is down here on the bottom. So I'm going over, dropping it down through the top. Okay. Hook, hold on, don't let go. Pull out the slack, put it into the yoke and deliver the knot. All right, so now you can kind of see we've got our beautiful V shape for our necklace. We've got one side coming down. We turned around at our focal and went right back up the other direction. Now it's time to put another one of these little clamshells on this side. Now this one actually has a knot. It's going to have a knot between the clamshell and the pearl. This one doesn't. That's okay. That's okay. No big deal, right? So this time when we thread our clamshell on, we're actually going through the back of it instead of through the front of it. Okay, so take your needle, go through the back of the clamshell so that the needle and thread are coming up through the center. You want to pull that down, and we're just going to treat this clamshell just like a bead. In other words, you can hand knot right here if you want to, but I'm going to use the knotter tool to make this knot. So just be careful because you do have that metal hook there and you don't want to get it caught on anything. But I'm going to do the same steps, right? Drop all this down. And I'm going to use my knotter tool to make that knot that is going to keep that clamshell in place. Okay, so I'm pulling that down. You can see I'm actually inside that clamshell with the tool. Okay, and then I'm just going to deliver that knot, and it should be right there inside the tool. Okay, another little dab of our Hypo cement. So we'll put that on one side, and then I'm going to put it on the actual knot. I'm going to close that, start to close that with my fingers. Okay, I'm going to put the cap on this really quickly. Okay. All right. Now, before I close this down with the pliers, okay, I'm going to trim off the excess. And then I'm going to use my pliers. Close that down. And I'm going to make my little loop. My round nose pliers. So loop that around. Okay. And we've got our 2 ends are secure and ready to add hardware to. Okay. And I just want to show you part of the reason why I said don't pre-cut your silk is because now I still have a ton of silk left over and I still have the needle on it. Right. So I have tons of silk. I can make a whole nother necklace with this. If I had pre-cut, I may not have enough, right, to make another piece of jewelry. So when you're done, just re-thread this, you know, wrap it back around the original card and you've got plenty of leftovers and you still have this needle, which is the most important part. You can't do it without the needle. All right, I'm gonna set this to the side, okay? All right, so now we're gonna add a tassel down here, and the tassel part is super easy. I have pre-cut 5 pieces of faux suede lace that are about 8 inches long each. And you can trim off afterwards. You can shorten this up. You can make it not as thick. You can alter this however you want to, okay? I'm gonna use my Findings Variety Pack. I'm gonna find a large jump ring in here. There's usually some good sized ones, like a 10 millimeter or 12 millimeter jump ring in there. You just want a big jump ring, okay? And I'm gonna thread all of those pieces of suede lace through my jump ring. And I just wanna make that jump ring fall in the middle here, right? And it doesn't have to be an exact, because again, you can trim off, right? So I'm just going to fold that over right at half, or what's pretty close. Okay. Clean up the way that's going to look inside there. And then I'm just going to take a little piece of wire and I'm just going to bundle it around this to cinch up my tassel. Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to use wire for this. You can use another piece of thread, cord. You can take some of your leftover silk if you want to wrap around it and tie some knots. Totally up to you. I'm going to cut a little bit of my 22 gauge wire here, and I'm going to cut way more than I needed, but I'm just going to lay that across all of those pieces, and then I'm just going to kind of messy wrap right around, just to bundle all that together, right? It gives it that kind of tassel shape that we're looking for. And then if you want to tuck your ends, I'm going to cut these just a little bit, just so that they're a little bit easier to manage. Okay. So one end, I'm going to tuck through from the bottom up. The other end, I'm going to tuck from the top down. So I'm just going to take this bottom wire and I'm going to give it a little bend, just like that, right? And then I'm going to take the tip of it and I'm going to use my pliers just to gently kind of tuck it underneath all those wraps. Pull it out the other side. And then I'm going to trim that off. That just keeps your wire ends from being loose, because you don't want those to get caught on your clothing or anything like that, right? This one, I'm going to do the same thing. So this time I'm going from the top down. And that end is actually kind of tucked down inside all the pieces of the suede. So I'm not going to fish for it to trim it. I'm just going to leave it like it is. Okay, so now we've made ourselves a little tassel. It's just a messy little tassel. You can do this neater and more clean if you want to, but I kind of like mine just like that. So I'm going to leave it just like it is. Now I'm going to open this jump ring very carefully, and I'm going to attach it to the jump ring that's underneath our focal bead. So just attach that just like that, close that back. And we've got ourselves a little focal. You could do a beaded tassel if you wanted to. I mean, there's so many options. You could, instead of doing a tassel, just hang some really pretty beads here if you wanted to. I'm a fan of the tassel, particularly leather tassel, because for warm weather, leather jewelry is one of my go-to materials. So it gives it just kind of a cool look. All right, so now we got to work on the length of our necklace, because again, this is the front, right? But it's not long enough to go all the way around your neck. So I like to use more of the faux suede lace. You don't have to, you can use chain if you want to. It's really kind of up to you, but I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are, I don't know, about 24 inches each. It's really up to you. My measurements when it comes to the instructions, almost always my measurements are kind of a guide, because really and truly, those kinds of things are going to be up to you, depending on how long you want your necklace to be. So, you know, let that kind of be up to you. I've got 24-inch pieces here, and I'm going to fold those in half. So it's actually only going to add an extra 12 inches of length to each side of my necklace. Now I'm going to bring in these rings here, okay? And I'm going to take one of my pieces of faux suede lace. I'm going to bring the ends together, find the middle, and I'm just going to tie a lark's head knot onto the ring. So I'm going to take the loop, right? And I'm going to stick it through the ring, just like that. And then I'm going to fold my ends over and pull those through that loop. Clean that up a little bit and pull that down. So now I've got a nice little lark's head knot. I just like the way that that looks. It's nice and clean. You can come to the back of that, put a little bit of hypo cement back here on the back, and that'll keep that knot nice and secure. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. So bring your two ends together. Take your loop. Tuck your ends through. Pull. Okay, and again, you definitely want to add a little bit of glue back there. I'm not going to right now. I'm going to leave it just like it is for now, but for you, definitely put some glue. Okay, now I'm going to hold these right next to each other because I want to be sure that all my ends are pretty even, and they're not, which that's fine with me because I can just trim them all off to even them up. Okay. All right. So now we do need to attach this here, but first let's talk about our hardware back here. We'll, instead of making this the last step, we'll go ahead and do it now since we're not attached. It just makes it a little bit easier. So you can take cord ends if you want to and put cord ends on the ends of these. It just makes it a cleaner look. I'm just going to do an overhanded knot and stick a jump ring in there. You don't have to do it that way, but I just want to be sure that everybody understands that there are options with this. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the two ends, I'm going to loop them around just to tie an overhanded knot, like I said. Okay. And before I pull that super tight, I'm going to just take one of my jump rings and stick it on there. Now, I know this closure method, it drives, some people love it. Some people can't stand it because that makes a knot at the back of your necklace and they don't like it. That's why I want to be sure that you understand you don't have to do things exactly the way that I do them, right? I'm just going to hook that jump ring right in there. And actually, before I close this jump ring, I'm going to thread a clasp on too while I have it open. And I'm going to close that back. Okay, and then I'm going to finish cinching up this knot, just tightening it down. And you can add hypo cement to this knot as well. That's going to keep your jump ring secure. Okay, so this one side of this is done. Okay, now we're going to do the other side, same way, and then we're going to attach all of this to our pearls, and our project will be complete. So again, just going to loop around. And before I bring that all the way down to tighten it up, I'm going to hook on this jump ring. You could thread your jump ring on if you wanted to before you did the knot, but sometimes I tend to get them all mixed up and it doesn't come out nice and clean. That's why I attach my jump ring this way. And then pull. So now you can see mine are a little uneven, but that's okay. But for your clasp back here, this is what you've got, right? You add a little bit of glue and you can trim off these tails so that it's just knots and jump rings, right? I mean, you really can, if you add glue, you can cut this all the way down to just that, but you gotta add the glue, okay? Don't do that without adding the glue. All right, so now the only thing left to do is just connect here, and we're just going to use some more jump rings for that, and then we will be done. So from my Findings Variety Pack, well, one thing you want to be sure, I just realized that these rings here are a little big. Just want to be sure I've got a jump ring that's going to clear the edge of that. So we'll use the bigger jump rings. Okay, so I'm just going to open up a jump ring. I'm going to hook it through that little loop on our clamshell, and then I'm going to hook it onto our connector ring here and close that back. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side. Yeah, some people don't like those knots behind the neck, and I get that. I totally get that. So you would want to use a cord end there just to make a cleaner clasp, right? But I honestly thought that the clasp portion of this project was kind of just an afterthought because we really focused so much on the other techniques here that, you know, I didn't want to get too bogged down with the clasp, but you can do many things at the back of this necklace. All right, so I know you can't really see the full length of this laying down, but I'm going to turn you around. I'm going to show it to you on the bust, and then I will let you guys go. I'm actually going to grab the long necklace bust that I have here. Flip it around. All right, so it's funny, you're at a different angle than you were a few minutes ago. All right, so I'm gonna hang this on. Now this is a long necklace, but you, like I said, you can adjust. You can adjust because this one's way longer than the bust that I have here. That you can see. So this is a cool piece for layering with other things, right? Or if you wanted to, you can loop this faux suede lace around your neck twice. Now mine has like one little thing sticking here, but that just kind of helps to show you, right, just what the knotted section looks like. And there's so many options here. Like I said, you don't have to do a leather or faux leather tassel if you don't want to. You can add anything else here. A beautiful pendant hanging right here, some more beads. You can make a beaded tassel if you wanted to. There's lots of options, but the most important thing that I hope that you've taken away from this project is the technique that is involved with the actual knotting, and then this turnaround technique, which is really handy when you want to add something different than the pearls. And you also kind of want the gravity part of this, because the gravity is what's kind of making this that V shape anyway, right? And that has to do with that, you know, with the way that we turned everything around. So yeah, I hope you guys have loved this project. I really enjoyed teaching this to you. I hope that I've inspired you. I hope that I have taught you today. And I hope that you come away from this class looking at all of the things that you've got that you can knot, right? You can do pearls, you can do gemstones, you can do glass beads. I love to put knots between my most favorite check glass beads ever. Just be sure that when you're picking and choosing your beads that you're also picking the right size of the silk cord to go with it. Just play around a little bit. Those multi-strand packs with the multi-sizes in them are perfect for that. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this class, and I look forward to getting together with you again really soon for another fun project. You guys enjoy your weekend. Bye.